Son of God.
In the name of the Father, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit,
And of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Yes, people. So, yeah, before people may come at me to say, Nana, why are you referring to this as a Nigerian pastor? Yeah, it's obvious. I know it's a Nigerian pastor. But before people complain, I rather want you to use this opportunity as a learning. And that's exactly the reason why I wanted to come today to talk about this particular unfortunate event. So yes, as you may have seen it, this is a pastor, this is a reverend father, whatever category that you may place them. This is somebody within the clergy who physically, in my line of work, this is physical abuse, this is emotional abuse, because of the role of this pastor, but also on this very said child. And I think we need to be able to learn, okay? I am definitely not going to blame the pastor for that. And somebody may say, hold on a minute, Nana, what's going on? Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't blame the pastor for that. And I'll tell you the reason why. The pastor does not know any better. Yeah? The pastor or the reverend father does not know any better. And is it only common to this particular reverend father, or is it only common to this Nigerian reverend father? No, it's not. I'm a Ghanaian by birth. It happens in Ghana. And I'm sure if we are going to be very honest to ourselves, especially if we want to learn, these experiences of our children, sometimes even in the West, are not only particular or peculiar, can't even get my words out. It's not only peculiar to our community. These things do happen. Every community has its own form of known behaviors, and these are forms of abuse. I'm not here, to talk in a tone that is not going to be respectful towards our older communities or towards the adults, the very older ones who may have held on to these kind of practices as very common. Was I knocked when I was growing up? Yes, I was knocked. I need to make it very clear. But the impact that it had on me, maybe, I wouldn't discuss that today, but I am also helping you as a parent that physically knocking your son or daughter or any child in the UK is a criminal offense, okay? In the UK, you end up losing your child or your daughter, because you are not able to safeguard them. Somebody may say, well, they are my son, my own daughter. I can choose to challenge them. And equally with a reverend father in that position of authority, well, I can correct them, because I am in charge. No, hold on a minute. It does have an impact. It does put a child in that position of shame. So why am I not blaming this pastor? Why am I not blaming this reverend father? It's because he doesn't know any better. He hasn't got any understanding of, that is not the right way of challenging, a child or a young person who you are expecting to do something different. So I need to make it very clear. In the UK, maybe in other parts of the world, if this had happened, this reverend father would have lost his job. Okay, would I advocate for this reverend father to lose his job in Nigeria, in Ghana, or maybe other parts of our world? I would say no. The reason being, and please let me know in the comment section whether you think, yeah, he needs straight away to lose his, employment. I'm not condoning it, but my argument is he doesn't know any better. I will possibly maybe, expand it to say parents who use such forms of abuse rather need education. They don't know any better because that is what was passed on to them. That is how they were brought up as well. So this reverend father, in their mind, when this young person who was meant to hold on to the mic was not able to do it the way the reverend father was expecting, instead of actually correcting, showing him what they were meant to do, he physically went with a knock. And I think, by the sound of it,
and of the Holy Spirit,
And of the Holy Spirit.
people think, the harsher it is, the quicker for the child to be able to learn. It is a bag of nonsense. I need to make it very clear. Some people may say, no, Nana, you can't speak that way to the elderly. We are trying to say there are certain things that was passed down from the generation which were held by the elderly as that is how, they needed to bring up children in terms of correcting children or even amongst themselves. But the reality is, it definitely doesn't make it better for the said child. So if you are an adult, if you are an older person in authority working with children, have children in your care, and if you are possibly thinking physically knocking or doing any form of physical, putting some kind of injury, to that child, it is a form of abuse, and we need to learn. So if I am meeting the said Reverend Father, what I will be saying to him is, I'm not here to make you feel lesser, but rather to encourage you that you could have used different ways, including talking to the young person to say that, you know what, lift your hands up, or equally, because there are people there, let's make sure that, I can maybe nudge him in a very, polite way to make sure that the microphone goes up. Equally, what about the people in the congregation? Did anybody challenge it? No, nobody challenged it. Maybe somebody may say, oh yeah, Banana, you weren't there to see whether somebody challenged it or not. This is what we are saying, and that's exactly what we can go by. But I will possibly say this will be normalized. Why? Because he's deemed as an adult. 2, he's deemed as an authority figure. So unfortunately, children, young people go through all sorts of abuse from these authority figures, from their primary, people who are meant to safeguard them. And unfortunately, these forms of abuse goes unreported. And sometimes, it's a bit of a systemic thing. Sometimes when people even go to the extent of reporting it, the child gets into bigger trouble. And I need to make it very clear. Was I knocked when I was a child? Yes, I had a knock. Somebody will say you get a lick. It's true, but it doesn't mean it was right. At that moment in time, whoever did it felt that was the best way to be able to challenge, or that was the very best way to be able to correct me or every other child who were in their care. I remember when I was going up to year 4, our teacher we heard was the person who could actually give everybody that lick. That was a title he had for himself. Was it better? No, it wasn't. Maybe let's hear from your end if you think, this is something that you grew up with. What's your view after growing up? Do you think that was the best way you could have been challenged? I continue to hold the view that is definitely wrong, and nobody should ever, I still hold on to that view. That is definitely wrong. And this father or this Reverend Father should be made to learn, to have a good understanding of the reasons why, in terms of this day and age, children should not go down with a knock. Children will not learn better with a physical knock. It doesn't help them by any means. It's a form of power, and that is how I see it. It's a form of power. That young person will not be able to knock you back. And that's the whole thing. And that is you abusing your power. Maybe let's reverse it. When that young person becomes older and they are trying to teach you something and you don't get it, and they may intend, let me knock, the Reverend Father. Oh, they don't respect. I'm not by any means suggesting violence. The bottom line is, it is just violence, okay? You are not teaching the young person the right way of communicating. The young person may grow up becoming timid, may not be able to express themselves, may not be able to know how better to get things corrected whenever things are wrong. So yeah, this is my view. It is not right, but I equally share the view that this will not be the reason why the Reverend Father should be made to leave his job. Rather, he needs to be educated. The Reverend Father needs to be able to learn. And equally, the community needs to be able to appreciate the reason why such practices are not the best. Okay? But hold on a minute. There's something at the very end.
Your boy was having mass, and he didn't hold the microphone well. It was the mouth of the person that we professed their vow during the wedding. So accidentally or mistakenly, I knocked his head to redirect him to that. And eventually, somebody took the picture and posted it in the internet. That I've done all the evil in the world. I said that I will come and apologize to your family and to him, telling that I'm sorry for what happened. That it was not a deliberate act. It just like something unconsciously because of the people who are doing the wedding. They are not loud because the microphone wasn't directly in their mouth. And that was what preceded the action. I'm very, very, very sorry.
So this video is also the Reverend Father actually being made, possibly I'll use the word being made, to apologize to the family. And guess what the Reverend Father said? Some mischievous person took the video and posted it on the internet. It's very typical in some communities where when adults are being found out or when adults are brought to book, they deem it as mischievous, somebody who didn't like them, their enemies, they tried to betray them, somebody who didn't want the best for them, actually recorded them and actually made them have to come forward. It's not very common to see an adult coming over to see a child to apologize. And we need to be very clear. We need to appreciate the fact that people are learning. We are learning as a community. But the situation is, even in this man's apology, what is happening? My view, he's not coming across to be very genuinely understanding of the reason why he's rendering an apology. He's holding on to the fact that somebody who wanted to be mischievous have rather posted this. So maybe he's been talked to, he's been made to actually come down to see the parent. What do you think you would have done if you were the parent of this child? In this day and age, what would be your view? What would you have done if your son or daughter actually came home and said, this is what had happened? And this is the reason why we need to bring up children who we have a relationship with, instead of actually talking down to them all the time, or children that we make them feel that whatever an adult does is right. This is not right. So if this was your son who experienced that, would they have been able to come home to let you know that this is what happened and this is what the Reverend Father did? Let's know in the comment section. If your son or daughter would have come back to you to let you know this is what have happened, I think you've done an amazing thing. If not, but rather condone the fact that, you know what, is the Reverend Father, they are in charge, they know right, and they deserved it. Please, I need to encourage you as a parent. Your son or daughter needs to be able to come back home to let you know that this is what happened to them. And if they had come home to let you know, what would you have done? Would you challenge the Reverend Father? Or rather, you end up saying, you know what, Reverend Father is in charge. You know, they are the authority figure. Oh, the teacher is in charge. They know what's going on. Or rather, you go the other way where, you know, let's start a demonstration. Reverend Father needs to come up, you know, needs to be removed from their work. As I said from the onset, I don't think my proposal will be rather the Reverend Father needs to, you know, be made to resign or come up from their job. It's difficult. And if he's chosen that particular pathway where he's likely to work with children, the vulnerable and all that, he needs that education. Let me know in the comment section whether you agree or not. And equally, if you do, or maybe if you don't, what will be your proposal? I don't think the solution should be let them leave their jobs. Okay? Yeah, possibly in people who are training in these kind of spaces, teachers, Reverend Fathers, you know, pastors and all that. I think they need some kind of safeguarding training, and that's really important so that they understand the impact that these kind of corrections does have on children. Childminders is the same thing, you know, even amongst the family, uncles, aunties, who possibly think the physical, you know, assault, which may include a knock, a beat and all that, will be the best way to help the child to be able to learn. I don't think that's the case. Somebody may say, oh, no, you see it. I understand. That's how we grew up, but it doesn't make it right. So I need to make it very clear. I had my legs, but it doesn't make it right. Okay? And that may be another argument or another discussion that we need to have another day. But equally, I'm taking you back to the responses from the father.
There's nothing wrong there. Because I started on it. Before I started.
Okay.
Whatever happens there. Under you. So whatever you do to them.
It was a minor correction, but you know people want something to blow it out of proportion.
I didn't like it. So there's nothing wrong about it. It's what you should do. I should even blame you if you're supposed to be that you don't do it. So as far as I'm concerned, I've not even heard about that.
You see? You not even have yourself. And you don't even tell yourself.
You didn't even tell
you see,
but there's nobody he would have told me because he knew I would blame him.
You see, sir.
So he himself thought it was
a normal correction. Which was normal, but so onlookers, somebody who has a mischief in Europe, people have begun to see that. So I'm very sorry. Come on, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It won't happen again.
But he knew that if he told me, I will not be happy with him.
Yes, sir.
For holding the microphone. Is that why you came here?
I'm very glad. So may I have your number?
Okay.
The father is possibly saying to the Reverend Father, you didn't need to come to apologize. This is not something that you needed to come to me to apologize. You've got so much busy things, you've got so many busy things to do. And in your position, you shouldn't be coming here to tell me about my son who was misbehaving or who couldn't do it right. And for that reason, you gave them a lick. Okay? And if that is what you did the right thing. No, Oga, he didn't do the right thing. The Reverend Father is learning by coming to you to apologize to you. The Reverend Father is learning by coming to the child to apologize to the child. That is the proper thing to do. But equally for the father of this young person, he doesn't know any different. In his view, the Reverend Father should always be right. The Reverend Father cannot be made to come to apologize to a younger person. And whilst we continue to do this, I think it's a relearning that we need to be able to do as a community to make sure that the things that had been passed down from generations that are actually not helping, that are making our children timid, not being able to share their views, being able to, speak their mind, and equally those who are able to speak their mind, they are deemed to be what? Rude. They are deemed to be too outspoken. No, we need to be raising children. We need to be raising the next generations who are able to expressively say, this is not right, but in a very respectful way. We want to hold on to our values, but what it means is what is not right within the community in terms of practices, in terms of challenging inappropriate behavior. I don't think this was an inappropriate behavior. What's your thoughts, of this young person not being able to hold on to the mic very well? He's not of the same height of this said adult having his wedding on that day, okay? So if the mic is come down, that is my view, and I want to be respectful. If the mic is down and you rather need him to take the mic up a little bit, it's not a matter of, not him, or maybe get him to understand, take it up a little bit, instead of physically assaulting him. This is my view, okay? But please, let's know in the comment section. And whilst we discuss this, I will definitely encourage you people, as parents, we need to be able to take that step back instead of always going with that view that this is how I was brought up. There is a point in time where the things that happened to us as children that we didn't enjoy, the things that happened to us as children that we felt that was the worst experiences, we don't need to repeat it on our children. The fact that we had our own traumas as children and we ever felt, that was the worst experiences that I ever had, including saying to a child, oh, I'm going to, we say in a very funny English, the police will come and catch you. The police will come and catch you. Or even saying to somebody, you're going to make, in Ghana, we have something that we call kakai. Okay, kakai is some kind of what? I don't know whether it is ghost, stranger. Yeah, something that, usually children are scared of. And then we ask ourselves, why is that child so timid? So these are the things that sometimes we use or was used on us when we were growing up. And then you realize that some of these children become so timid. They are not able to express themselves. Anyway, people, we are raising the next generations who are so bold, eloquent, and capable to be able to challenge and be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with their peers. And all that we are possibly saying in this video is, the Reverend Father was wrong, but the Reverend Father possibly was made, and not actually willfully, made that decision to come and apologize. And even when he made that decision to come and apologize, his word was not assuming that he understood what he did. Possibly what he's meant to do is to be made to understand the impact that he had on this young child. Yeah, so as the Reverend Father said, he mistakenly, knocked this child. Do you think it was a mistake? Do we think, it was just a trigger? Well, my possible view is, that is what he knew. That is how, he thought is the best thing. It's possibly subconsciously ingrained, that's how I need to correct this young person. But equally for the parents, what's the parent saying? No, you weren't even meant to come here to apologize. And possibly we can go back to the issue of poverty, okay? In some of these spaces where, because of poverty and all that, children are given to people in authority to look after, or maybe children are given to, these said leaders to hold or to care for them for that particular moment. So maybe like a football coach, a reverend father, a pastor, a teacher, and all that. When these people do wrong, some parents will not expect them to come to them and apologize. And that's very true. That's my view. Let me know if you think otherwise. But so for that reason, where the child even goes home and say, this is what my coach has done, this is what my, reverend father has done, this is what my teacher have done, they end up possibly getting punished the more. Because they are blamed to say, well, it's because you didn't behave, you didn't do the right thing. And that's the reason why, you had a particular treatment. So then the child will end up, internalizing it, thinking that it was all their fault. So there was nothing wrong with what their teacher did. They deserved it. But what we are trying to say is, people, it's not right. Okay, it's definitely not right. And the fact that the father was saying, the Reverend Father didn't need to come and apologize, it didn't make it right either. In the UK, because of the system, people may be thinking this child is at risk. What I'm saying is, in terms of cultural awareness, is to re-educate the parents to say that the fact that you experienced this during your childhood does not make it any better. So the best way was to be able to help the parents to understand that the Reverend Father, the teacher, the coach, whoever was in charge, if they had actually meted out something like this to your son or daughter, it doesn't make it right. You need to be able to find a way to challenge them. You can choose to be respectful, but also to challenge them. And as I said in my previous conversation, if your son or daughter came up to you to say that this is what the coach had done, what would you have done? People, let me end by saying, in Africa, in other parts of the world where we are meant to respect our adults, and I continue to say, we are meant to respect our adults, but we need to be able to get to the point where we are speaking truth to power, okay? Speaking truth to our authorities. And maybe, let me say, in Ghana, there is this issue going on about Galamsey, where the waters that is in the country is being polluted through Galamsey. This is not about a political thing. This is about the future of our children. And maybe I think it's a bit of common sense. If people are polluting the waters, what is going to be available for the next generation? People, somebody may say, oh, Nana, you're definitely delving into the realm of politics. All that I'm saying is there is a point in time we need to speak truth to power in a very respectful way. Sometimes our older generation do not know any better because that is what they were used to. And these are the reasons why we need to be able to let those in charge, and it may be our parents, it may be people in authority, people that, possibly because of their age, we assume they should know better, and possibly we continue to get them to get away with these things for free. No, I would say, let's stop Galamsey. Please, let's stand with everybody in Ghana supporting the fight for the water bodies in the country to be cleared up. And that is to be able to make that decision that enough is enough. Galamsey, let's stop Galamsey campaign. And that is the whole thing. People, my name is Nana SA. If you've enjoyed this, I am definitely proud of the fact that I have learned, I've been challenged, okay, in my parenting. Because the fact that I work with young people, I need to learn and unlearn some of the ways that I possibly was brought up. So people, if you've enjoyed this, please click on the link below, okay, that says subscribe, so that you can continue to have all these videos where we talk about Black experiences in order for us to be able to look at a better experience for our next generation. Anyway, people, I'll see you in the next video. Remember, like the video, share with other people, and also your view about this whole video. Anyway, people, we'll see you in the next video. Boom.
And your farmland's barren. This is the reality Ghana faces today, all because of Galamsey or illegal mining. Our once clear rivers like the Pra and Ankobra are now murky, toxic, and undrinkable. Farmlands that fed entire communities are destroyed, making it harder for farmers to grow crops. And why has this been allowed to continue? For resources, they pollute our rivers and leave our soil damaged. Despite promises and efforts, our leaders and government have failed. Corruption and the involvement of powerful individuals have weakened the fight against Galamsey. Military operations have come and gone, but the devastation remains. We've watched our environment suffer while those responsible walks free, but